Ah, okay, guys. This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And it's Thursday, the 15th of May, and it's 7:06 in the morning. I was trying to get on the air at 6:30, didn't make it. Got up early enough, but didn't make it. Got to keep trying harder. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is Trump's tour of the Middle East and what he really was doing. And this by itself is not that bad for Israel, and I'll go through with what he was doing and why. I think he still has to go to the UAE, which is probably today, and then he'll leave, I believe. So we'll know what happened with the UAE, but I could pretty well predict it. Turkey basically sent soldiers into Libya to help the Libyan regime suppress the more radical Islamics that are conducting an active shooting civil war. So Turkey is starting to get spread out. Let's see how that goes. So he's got a lot of troops on the border with Syria to suppress the Kurds and prevent them from bothering his country by getting united with the Kurds in his country to overthrow him, which could always happen. And he's got bases in central Syria, and now he's in Libya. So he's starting to get stretched out, which is good for us. Okay? And we'll talk about other things going on in America. Russia-Ukraine peace talks in Turkey is basically a nothing. Putin's not going to the meeting. No Lavrov, no high-ranking Russian officials. Putin's just shining on Ukraine and probably wants to get into some sort of peace talks and, buy some time to rebuild, restructure, reorganize his military, produce more military equipment, and repair oil refineries and things like this. Okay? Pakistan and China basically, Pakistan and India basically are calmer than they were, but India is still insisting on cutting off the water to Pakistan, which is going to bring about a war. It's like got to bring about a war, and India is not backing off. And we'll go through a number of other things as well, and then we're going to do an end times review on the next temple and where it comes from, and does the beast ever go in that temple with the scriptures to support that? And if we have time, maybe we'll get into the dry bones. I'm not sure yet. And that's what we're going to cover. And I thank you for praying for me to regulate my sleep better. I feel pretty good today. Got up quite early, but got enough sleep. I feel good. So maybe you guys need to be praying more for that. I appreciate the prayers. And I think my wife had her flight delayed again. Now the airlines are saying they're not going to be running flights into Israel until mid-June. June 14th, I think, is the last day, no flights. So they're talking mid-June 15th. And that could get postponed, we don't know. Or it could get moved forward, I doubt that. So things are getting hard thanks to the Houthis. Okay? And I'm going to go jump into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream and everything's working. Put a couple of quick posts up, all while people are coming in. Some people are going to leave, and that's expected. They always do. They're not very interested.
Working, put a couple of quick posts up.
And they want to just leave that easily, they can leave. I've got moderators here. Thanks to the moderators. My life would be a lot harder without that. And I appreciate all the warm greetings I get from everybody. Thank you. All right, my posts go up quickly. Getting there. Oh, we lost 6 people. See, I don't care about them. They don't care. They're not interested. I don't know what they're interested in. So, okay, I'm going to get my email address up and then we'll get going. Okay, done with the posts. You could send in prayer requests, toss requests, whatever, by email. My email address is at the top of the chat. It's also in the bottom of the description box, the very bottom. And you could also post it in the chat. It's more private if you send it in by email. That's up to you. I do check emails several times during the broadcast and the chat. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise and then we'll start. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. So I guess the place to start, I gotta get this sweatshirt off. It's getting warm already here. I don't think it's gonna be that hot today. I'm not sure. The weather is weird. Boy, I'll tell you that. It was really chilly yesterday in the morning and the night. I mean, it was pretty chilly. Let's take a look at the weather real quick in Israel. 66 now. That's not exactly hot. And high of 80. That's really a nice day. Tomorrow we're going to go up to 93. Then 105 on Saturday. That's going to be grueling if it actually. So pray we don't get it that hot in my area, my immediate area. Please, it's scheduled for Shabbat at 105. Not scheduled, predicted. Then right after that it goes down to 93, then 87, and then stays in the 80s. You know, the houses are built here to take the heat, not the cold. They're miserable in the winter. They're made out of concrete. The roofs are concrete with tile over it. The walls are concrete, either block or poured concrete. The floors, poured concrete with tile. So they're 10, 15 degrees colder than it is outside, even with the air conditioning off. And to make that work, we have shades over the window. They're like plastic slots, and you can keep them level or you can close them down. If you close them down, they keep the sun off the windows, but then the room gets dark and you're walking around in a cave, but it keeps it cool. But we have room air conditioners. Most of the rooms have a unit, and we usually just put two or so on and use some fans, and it's pretty fine. You're okay. You don't have a problem with it. Works just no problem. So in the summer, the houses work in your favor. In the winter, it's miserable. Also, when the weather's warm, every house in Israel has a solar hot water heater. They did that to conserve energy. So your water heats up to the point where it's scalding on a warm day, and you can use all the hot water you want. You got to pay for water, but you don't have to pay for the heating. It's nice. In the winter, you got to use the electric heaters, which are costly, and you got to put them on for, if it's really cold, an hour. If not, 45 minutes. If it's just moderate, like the high is 63, 64, something like that, you put it on for 15 minutes and you got hot water for most of the day. I got to check this message. Sorry, that's Israel. If you don't respond to messages, you could have problems regarding deliveries and things like that. We also have a militia in the community because of the war. I call it a militia. It's a security force. They're armed. They have vehicles with blue lights. They have radios to the military and the police, and they patrol 24/7. It's pretty secure. Okay, not much importance here. I didn't read it all. Hold on. No, we're okay. I gotta pay attention because I'm getting some food delivery today, and you gotta watch their responses. I'm learning one of the courier companies here started getting tricky with the people. They send you notices that your package is on the way, and they give you an estimated delivery date. And if you don't respond and go through 2 or 3 websites and manipulate yourself around and confirm the delivery date, they don't deliver it. They just let it sit. And that really stinks. And they do it because they try to build up as many packages as they can for geographic runs. And it makes it more cost effective for them. And your delivery just goes out there longer and longer. And that really stinks. And of all the big delivery services that work internationally, I don't want to name them, but this one is the absolute worst. They cause so many problems, but a lot of big companies use them. The supermarkets run their own delivery services, and they give you a 2-hour window when they're going to deliver the goods. So if they tell you they're going to deliver it at 3 o'clock, it means it's between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And then they normally give you a note on SMS that it's going to be another hour or 2 hours. So if you schedule deliveries for, 6 o'clock in the evening, it means 8 o'clock. But then if they extend it, it means 10 o'clock. I did this once. I got a delivery after 11 o'clock at night. I don't do that anymore. So if I can't get an early delivery, I go to another day. It's just too stupid, It's just really stupid. So anyway, what did Trump do in the Middle East? Well, so far he's been to Saudi Arabia and Qatar. He's telling us he bagged $1.8 trillion of business for America. A trillion is 1,000 billion. Okay. So he almost bagged $2,000 billion of business, and he has yet to go to the UAE, which is going to give him probably a very large piece of money as well. So they intend to invest money in America. That's what this money is. So what does that mean? Well, precise and exactly nobody told us, but it means they could buy existing businesses, factories is what they usually go for, raw materials factories or real estate, buy stuff in America, which is going to bolster the economy and make jobs. They're probably going to manufacture. We know he sold $142 billion of weapons that were undisclosed what they were to Saudi Arabia. That's a really massive weapons supply, okay? You know, usually when you hear weapons going, 1 billion, half a billion, 2 billion, not 142 billion. F-35s normally run about $100,000, give or take, depending on which version and so forth. And when you're talking about F-15s, they could be, 20, 30,000, 40,000, maybe. F-16s, they could even be 15, 20 and go up higher. Different versions and stuff like that. So did he sell them aircraft? I don't know. Probably some. Did he sell them missile defense systems? Probably some. Did he sell them surface-to-surface missiles? Yeah. Did he sell them warships? I have no idea. I don't know what he sold. Qatar wasn't buying weapons. They're a small country across the Persian Gulf from Iran. They're very threatened by Iran. They've been operating with Iran, supporting their proxies. And what I think Trump did, now Trump made the deals before the trip. Don't kid yourself. The deals were signed on the trip, so they had them all worked out with the details, right? So it was all done before. And before the trip, Qatar said about 10 days ago, roughly, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, Qatar said they were going to fund the new Syrian government by paying the salaries for the government workers, which is $29 million a month. They're going to just drop into Syria for free. So you see, this happened before Trump came. So the new Syrian government is very opposed to Iran. Okay? And now Qatar is funding them. So we get the writing on the wall here. Iran has been threatening to attack military bases and oil refineries and assumptively the ports that are used to export the oil in the countries in the Middle East as a punishment to America. They also said any country in the Middle East that supports in any way, shape, or form the American military, they did add attacking Iran, would become an enemy of theirs and they would attack it. Now, America has a very large air base in Qatar, and Qatar's next door to another dictatorship run by a royal family in Bahrain, where they have a Navy base. Qatar and Bahrain are next door. across the Persian Gulf from Iran. So they would be subject to getting hit by missiles from Iran, and I don't have any doubt Iran could lob missiles into those countries with some accuracy because they're so close. The distance could be as little as 110 miles, and then it could be 140, 160 miles or something. I don't know. It depends where in the Persian Gulf you are. It could be even bigger. Kuwait we're not hearing anything from Kuwait, which is very, very interesting. First of all, Kuwait is run by a bunch of rotten, stinking dictators calling themselves Emir. They got a reasonable amount of oil. They're sort of a closed community. There's Sharia law. They're mean, ugly people. They like to just stay as isolationist as they can. And a few months ago, they were conducting naval military exercises with Iran. Now, they have a land border with Iran, I think. Let me take a look. You know, it's a possibility that they don't have. I believe there is a land border with Iran. I got to take a quick look at it. Something's wrong. Hang on a minute. I'm getting. Prayer requests. Someone asked me for a prayer request, and you're dealing with a Satan bot there. I don't often say this, but I don't want to put that prayer request out. Okay, I know the person you're talking about, and it's a straight up Satan bot. Okay, that's what you're dealing with, and I don't want to do it. I'm sorry. I don't like praying for Satan bots. The spouse of this one, I'm reasonably sure is a Satan bot. I don't like doing that. Okay. But then again, maybe the spouse is not a Satan bot, and this one could be cursing the wife. So we'll put it out. Okay. All right. Prayer request for TH, Tango Hotel, TH, Tango Hotel. Prayer request for healing. A severely sick person. Tango Hotel. Prayer request is for healing. Okay. But be advised that this person is a Satan bot. Yes, I know who this person is. And this person is a phony baloney, fearmonger, trying to sell survivalist equipment and supplies. It's not a huge channel, but you're dealing with a Satan bot there. Okay, that's what you're dealing with, and a con man. Now there are Satan bots in social media that do give you real good news. Okay, quite a few of them. They got big channels, and they scour the news, and they give you real good news. But what they also do is they fraud you. I'll explain. There's a number of them out there with what they call EAMs, emergency action messages. Now, things got tense with Iran and stuff, and India and Pakistan a week or two ago. And they were telling everybody they went a whole week without getting any EAMs. Why? Because the EAMs are not that important. when they didn't get any messages. Why? Because the EAMs are easily monitored. These people with channels and groups on the internet monitor them. And then they tell you how serious it is, and these are nuclear things, and then they count how many EAMs there are a day, and then they count how big the EAMs are. If they were going to send out real serious messages, they'd never send it on an EAM. Okay? They're using another mode of transmission, another frequency, or possibly rotating frequencies. They might change the frequency every day, and they might use a burst transmission. So what you're going to hear is, let's say a message would be this big on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. It's going to go across, transmitted like, that's the whole, their radio might not even, would maybe hear it if they knew the frequency, which they don't. And, it's like some police departments in large cities, if you're working in a police department in a small city, where they got 160 cops, you might recognize the plainclothes guys, the narcotics, the vice, the plainclothes guys that are out there. You may recognize them. You see their cars in the parking lot, But when you're talking about a department, let's say with 3,000 or 5,000, a lot of them go to what's called color of the day. So every day, they go in for a meeting, before they go hit the streets, they get a briefing, right? Now, the undercovers frequently don't go to these meetings. They not in a uniform situation, so they might not even go report to their office where their commander briefs them, because the idea is to keep their vehicles and themselves away from any known police office or headquarters or building, because the bad guys can easily surveillance it and get to see who the bad guys are. They could also go to courthouses where there's trials that are likely going to have undercover police officers testifying, right? And they could watch them. You can normally go into a court trial and just sit in the audience. And if someone asks you why you're there, you could say, oh, I'm a crime buff. I like to watch trials. I'm a writer or anything. And you're really there to get a good idea who the undercovers are. They could even send a sketch artist in. But that would be a little, bit much, So the undercover guys in plain clothes would probably be avoiding. Now, it depends. If they're just an anti-crime unit in plain clothes and they're running around malls and shopping districts trying to look for pickpockets and muggers and, stick-up guys, they're going to go show up at the precinct. They're not going to care, But it depends what they're doing. So they put something on with a certain color. So if the color of the day is red, right? And let's say the guy's wearing a suit so he can mingle around in a high-end shopping center. He might have a sport coat on, and then he might have a red tie. Or wearing a red tie is probably not going to happen, because somebody in a fight can grab your tie and give you big trouble, choke you, pull you around. If you want to command somebody physically in a fight, control their neck, and you're going to control them. Okay? There's a wrestling style, I think it's called Dumango or something like that, where they practice doing that. So He might put a red kerchief in here, or if he's in jeans and a t-shirt, he might have a red t-shirt. He might have a red hat. He might take a red bandana and put it on. So the uniform guys see the color of the day and they start thinking, hey, maybe he's a cop. You know, that type of thing. And they rotate it every day. So they could rotate the frequency of the transmission for these messages to aircraft every day or every half day or whatever they want. They make it aware to the pilot before he takes off that the message, you got to stay tuned to this wavelength because that's where the messages are going to come. Okay? So this is just hype they're doing to get you all psyched up and buy their emergency food supplies and their electronic devices and these boxes that'll stop pulse waves, electromagnetic stuff, and all this stuff is nonsense, and just sell you a multitude of things, a multitude of things. They got all different kinds of things. Protect your car, protect your house, protect your phone, protect your computer, survival food, radiation tablets with iodine, it goes on and on. Listen, you could find videos where people take canned food and eat it online. 40, 50, 60, 80 years old. Okay? So let's say you worried about a survival thing and you wanted your food to go, let's say, 5 or 10 years. Regular Walmart, Super Walmart, or other supermarkets, Safeway, Publix, whatever you got going on out there, Albertsons, whatever, sealed in metal cans, not funny plastic things with a kind of aluminum paper. No, that stuff isn't going to last very long. They're all metal cans where they put a paper wrapper around it. They're going to go at least 10 years. Now, if you put them out in the sun, they might go quicker, but they may not. Okay? You just keep them in your closet, your pantry, your basement, your storage shed, whatever. They're going to probably go way over 10 years. They may outlast the survival food. The survival food comes in a plastic bucket. Not so good to insulate against the atmosphere compared to a sealed metal can. Number one. Number two, it's powder. It's dehydrated powder. Okay? A lot of bodybuilders and athletes get egg powder, egg whites, egg yolks, bowls, they got all different kinds. Buy yourself a small container of that egg white powder and you reconstitute it by putting it in water, right? Okay. And then you drink it, or you basically, it's maybe like a shake or something, right? And see how good you feel after you take it. I've tried it. And see if it causes constipation. Oh, it will. That's a big problem with eating survival foods with the powder. You can get constipation. That's what I've been reading about. Then you need water. Okay, let's say you had a can of peas and carrots, right? It's got water in there, right? Now, the thing's sitting around for a couple of years, so what's happening? The minerals and the vitamins from the peas and the carrot are leaching out where? Into the water. Oh. So what do? You're in a survival situation, you open the can, you pour it out into whatever you're going to pour it into, and you eat your peas and carrots and drink the water. What happens? Now you're hydrating, plus the peas and carrots are full of water too, and you're getting all the minerals. How about that? Cheap? Oh, a fraction of what you're going to pay for that survival powder. Okay? Some of the phony Christian ministries do this too and sell the people the survival food. They eat it on the air and show them, how great it is. Does it taste good? Yeah, go buy a Milky Way or a Mars bar and it'll taste good too. It's not good for you, in my opinion, from what I know, but it'll taste good. That doesn't mean anything. You want survival food? Buy canned food. You want protein? Go to like a Sam's Club, or there's another one, Price Mart or something. They sell, instead of little flat tins of tuna and salmon, they have, which are not that long lasting because a lot of them have a peeled back lid, and that isn't going to give you the long life like a totally sealed can. Okay? It's going to last years, but not as long as the other. So you get those cans, about this big, and they got salmon or tuna in there, right? Some of them you can buy with trout and albacores and different fish, whitefish and whatever, right? And if you even want to go further, they have 5 and 10 pound tins of sardines and other things. If you prefer, you can get them packed in oil. The problem with the oil is it's usually not extra virgin olive oil. It's other kinds of oil. If it's olive oil, it's not going to be that bad, but I prefer the water. Okay? And that's your protein, the fish. There's nothing wrong with it, right? And you can get vegetables, and it's easy to get fruit. You can get fruit cocktail in a survival situation. They got a thick, syrupy sugar thing, which is carbohydrates. But that's not so bad in a survival situation. Okay? That's not regular times where you're trying to cut your sugar high carb stuff down. You need the carbs in survival. So but you don't need fruit cocktail. They got a million things you can get in cans that are fruits. Survival food's a scam, and they're selling it to you like crazy, right? You need water, you want to store water, you buy the various plastic tubs that can seal and fill them up with water. Get 5-10 gallon plastic things that seal pretty tight. After you seal them, you can make them perhaps a little better by putting a few layers of duct tape around them to keep them more insulated, and then put them someplace where it's cool so you don't have to fight evaporation. For short term, fill your bathtubs up. That's what we used to do in Florida. If a hurricane was coming, we'd fill our bathtubs up with water. Okay, now that's not the best water to drink because it's been in the bathtub, but push come to shove, you could always boil it. And what it was really useful for was flushing the toilet, And you could use it for washing hands and washing your face and stuff like that. You could feed it to your pets. They're not going to, cats and dogs could drink that water. It won't bother them. You might want to, wash out the bathtub to make sure there's no soap and shampoo stuff on the sides first. That'd take you 10 minutes, You said that they sell this. They sell all these radio communications. They sell solar stuff to, charge your device as if the internet, so you're going to charge your computer and your phone and then the grid's going to go down. That's great, So they build fear into you. Bug out bags. What kind of guns? What kind of ammo to get? What kind of radio to get? And that's where they make their money. Okay? And they say they're Christians and they don't have any good fruit. They don't have any good fruit. And their doctrines are goofy. They generally don't talk much about doctrines because they don't want to alienate anybody. They're there to make money. They want to make merchandise out of people, and that's what they do. And they don't care about money, about doctrine at all. They don't care what you believe, okay? And if they do ever talk end times doctrine, it's going to be Gog and Magog. All right, so that's my discourse on these people. Some of them do give good news. I tell you they do. Okay? Now, others are secular, and they give good news also, but they twist and turn it to create the fear porn, so you buy their survival crap. Now, another thing they do is flight tracker. Now, this is silly. What is flight tracker? They get on these programs that show them where different planes are coming from, and they check call signs of planes and look up what kind of plane it is and stuff like that. It's all based on the transponder. Now, do you think if the country, America, whatever, wants to move planes around, of course, it's got a serious situation, it's going to have the planes turn the transponder on and enable people to know what kind of plane it is, where it's going, where it is en route? I don't. It's a joke. You would never know. They shut them off. So when they want to send real messages, these guys can't pick it up. And when they want to move airborne aircraft around for reasons of war, you're not going to know where they are. And you generally can't find out where their Navy ships are. There's a guy that has a network of cameras around the world that shows you various ships leaving different ports. He actually gets pictures of them. So are the pictures real? Oh, I'm rather sure they are. But you don't know what they're leaving for. I followed this for a while. It's a waste of time. See, they're playing to people that want to trust in themselves, not God. Okay? I'm going to get, what it is, it's more of a replacement theology in a roundabout way. I'm going to survive because I'm prepared. Okay? And the rest of them are going to get wiped out. Does that sound like a good Christian attitude? For most of them, it's a fantasy. Okay? That's all it is. How many of them really have a fortified, bug-out house? Maybe a tenth of 1%, maybe 100th of 1%, maybe a 1,000th of 1%. Okay? Now, are there some that live in rural areas and have gone, 2, 3, 4 miles deep into the woods and built themselves shelters that are quite hard to find and have put supplies in the shelters and stuff like that? Maybe they found a spot near the shelter and they dug out an underground location and poured concrete, which I doubt, or maybe did something to it and stored a lot of goods in there they can use, and they kept it a few hundred yards from their structure where they're going to live so people wouldn't find it, and they camouflaged it. Yeah, there are a few that do that, but it's not a lot, man. And what are they going to do? I mean, they're crazy. How is America going to get destroyed? Well, by enemy and by fire. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. It's going to be, remember he says, like Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, Sodom and Gomorrah had fires with brimstone coming down from heaven. So good luck protecting yourself against God. After all the fires in America becomes a wasteland, you read the waves wash over America. How do you wash waves into Kansas? I don't know. I'm not God. He knows. Doesn't mean he's going to put 5,000-foot waves on the Atlantic and they're going to go in that far? Yeah, I mean, that could be one way that our scientific mind would tell us it would work. Another way is he could just put, 8-foot waves in and just have them keep going until they cross the country from all the borders, from the South in the Gulf of America or from the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean. The Great Lakes could overflow. He's the one that tells the waves where to stop. Remember, you've read that in the Bible. So he just stops telling the waves to stop at the beach, at the coastline. Stop in, you know, Chicago or wherever, and they just will go in that far. It doesn't mean they're going to be huge, waves. He doesn't have to do that. He controls it. The way man looks at it is, yeah, you'd need a 3,000 or a 5,000-foot wave, Tsunamis don't go in very far. I don't know if you know that, When people see like a tsunami starting and they just jump in a car or something, they could quite easily outrun it if the roads are open. Probably, less than a minute in the car, you're going to be out of range of the tsunami. It doesn't go 10 miles, It may be very dangerous for a quarter of a mile or a half a mile or something like that. Even a mile, maybe. But that's about it, When hurricanes got waves that wash ashore, usually the destruction is houses right on the beach or a house within 100 or maybe 150 yards from the waterline or 200 yards, something like that. After that, you're going to get, basically, you might get a foot of water or a few inches of water or something like that. Now, when you have tremendous rains coming down with the big waves, then you might have a lot of flooding in an area, When I lived in the hurricane country in Florida, I figured that if you were, 5 miles from any water, you probably would barely be affected. I mean, you'd have a lot of rain and the winds. Generally, if you're inland a few miles, the winds dissipate rapidly when they hit land. Okay? If a hurricane is a 4 when it breaks land, when it hits land, it immediately becomes a 3. And it goes in a little bit and then it becomes a 2. Okay? And then when you're in, let's say 25 miles, let's say a 4 hit it, and you're at 25 miles inland, it's going to be at most a tropical storm or a 1. I mean, it'd be maybe a 1. Or even a 2, possibly. But that's because these things go in bands and they go around. But all the destruction happens right by the water, not when you're inland. If you're 25 miles away from the coastline, the hurricanes are going to be ugly, but they're not going to be that much of a big deal. The winds could knock power lines out and that kind of thing. So the whole survival thing is just scamming people. They're not preaching the gospel. They're not telling them what to do. They're not telling them to rely on God. Rely on yourself. And because you listen to me and you're in one of our survivalist, social media things and you know what's going on, you're prepared. They're not prepared. Okay? There are a few rich nuts, very few, that go and buy a piece of land somewhere and they build themselves a fortress. If it's above ground, they got to hide it or they're going to become a target, or they go underground. So what's going to get them? Either the fires are going to get them or the waves after the fires. They're not going to make it. So they're frauding the people. These people. They're just fear mongering, and they promote the nuke stuff like crazy because that really scares the people. And they buy iodine pills from them, stuff like that. And they want these people to think, oh, I might have to have enough survival food and medical preps and all this stuff to last, you know, 5 years or 3 years. And then they show you videos of their survival gear, and they show you you got to rotate it every few years so you can keep buying more from them. Yeah, they're frauds, okay? They're not here to help anybody. They're here to use the news, flavor it to get fear-mongering, give the people no answer except be a prepper, be a survivalist. And there's millions of people that just live for this. And it turns them away from God. And Satan likes that. You don't hear survivalists and preppers say, well, if you're not right with God and you're not walking with the Bible, and following the Bible, you're finished. And no, they don't say that. They have a very unrealistic view of what's going to happen. Okay, so I thought it was worthwhile to bring that out. And so we'll get back to what Trump is up to. He made deals with Saudi and Qatar. Qatar's backing Syria. Trump is backing Syria. Trump is suspending the sanctions in Syria to give the guy running Syria a chance to make it. Now, I'm sure he told him, you got to cool it with the genocide. I can't have the genocide. Okay, he didn't say it publicly, but rest assured he did. He met with him in Saudi Arabia. So the guy probably said, okay. The guy that runs Syria also told Trump he would do oil deals with him. So joint venture oil in Syria. Trump loves that. More money for America, but he didn't dwell on that. Okay? They also didn't talk about Turkey military bases in central Syria, so we don't know what their position is on that. They didn't talk about it. Syria is anti-Iran, so the proxy state of Syria where Bashar Assad fell, and this guy hates Syria. Okay? So Iran lost their proxy in Syria. They lost their proxy in Hezbollah. They're very busted up, disjointed, and not capable of doing much. They lost their proxy in Gaza. While they're still alive and there, they can't do much of anything to Israel. Iraq seems to have quit the proxy business. They're too scared. They're afraid Syria is going to come after them. Okay? They know America doesn't like them. They know Israel doesn't like them. They're not happy campers. They don't want to start up. So that leaves Iran with what proxy? Yemen. That's it. So they told Qatar and the UAE will get it, and Saudi Arabia and Syria, this is the new thing. You got to work with Israel. They're going to be the bad dog that's going to bite Iran. And that's already happened. America knows that the only thing they could really do to Iran that would be effective is to destroy the infrastructure and ruin the whole country. Now, Trump sees another light at the end of the tunnel. If I could bust Iran out now, economically, and they collapse, we can put the Shah of Iran's son or grandson into office in Iran. That means put a dictator in Iran. And he'll make oil deals with my friends, the American oil refiners and sellers, and I'll get my schmear. and we'll just turn Iran into a nice economic situation. We'll put up hotels, gambling casinos, water slide parks, theme parks, malls, restaurants, all the junk, right? And we'll bring Iran back to the 1960s or 70s when the Shah run, which the people were rather free as long as they weren't rising up against the Shah. They were pretty free. If you weren't a Muslim, I had Iranian friends in the 70s, and if you were not a Muslim and you wanted to make money and you had your head screwed on relatively straight and you had your connections in government, you would write a business plan or have somebody write one and go to the Shah's government and say, this is what I would like to do, like build an office building for $11 million. Back then, that was a lot of money, stuff like that, right? So, they fund it, okay? And if you weren't a business person and you needed a job, you couldn't find one in the private sector, you applied for government jobs and they would try to put the people to work. People went in the military, but the military under the Shah wasn't like anything like with Iran. They would work on building roads and dams and helping poor people in rural areas develop their villages and towns, stuff like this. They had sidewalk cafes where people could sit down and drink coffee, espresso, get a piece of cake, get a bottle of wine, a beer. Women wore two-piece bathing suits. I'm not advocating that. I'm just telling you what went on. At the beaches, and they went to the hair parlors, or what they call them, beauty salons, to get their hair done with the big thing they put over the head to dry it. And they'd get makeup and nails done, and they didn't wear burqas. They wore regular shoes. They listened to the Beatles and stuff like that, and Elvis and Tom Jones or whatever. And they had a lot of goods from Europe. They had American and Europe movies, probably dubbed or subtitled, television, and they were like Europe, okay? They weren't a lunatic land. So if Trump can bust Iran out, a revolution is like mandatory, right? And then he could step in with the Shah's son or grandson, whatever he is, put that jerk in power without an election, talking about having an election down the road when they stabilize the place, right? And then America and Trump's friends in the oil business move in and do joint ventures with the Iranian government and profit off the Iranian oil, which would be a fortune. Do you understand that? Okay. Will it happen? Never. There's no prophetic time for that, and prophecy tells us Iran's going to be devastated. In Jeremiah 49, it's called Elam, E-L-A-M, back then. The word I-R-A-N is not in the Bible. Persia is, but Persia is more like the Persian Empire, and that's in Gog and Magog, and that's because after Elam happens, Persia gets reinstated, and we see him appear in Gog and Magog, which is roughly 70 years from now, rough cut. Okay, not precise, but about. So it's over about 70 years, and it's probably going to start 63 years or so from redemption. As a guess, just a guess. All right, moving forward. So he needs to get rid of Iran. He can't go in and attack their nuke sites and attack their missile cities and, all that stuff. He knows his losses are going to be great, and he's going to ultimately wind up destroying their infrastructure. So it makes a lot more sense to just destroy the company economically, destroy Iran economically, and that's what he's doing. He tried destroying the Houthis militarily and failed. if Iran fails economically, which could happen rather quickly, weeks, days, it's not going to take long because they're in such bad shape now. If they fail economically, it's child's play to have a revolution. The medical will break down, the food supply will break down, consumer goods will break down, travel, everything will fall apart. Electricity, and a revolution is easy. And then along comes Super Trump and helps them, and they put this other guy in power, and they give him money. How do they give him money? Like they gave Ukraine money. You have a line of credit with us for so many billions of dollars, and it's based on our new relationship where we're 50-50 partners in the oil, and you're going to pay me back out of future profits. That's all you got to do, like you did with Ukraine. Will that work? Yep. Now he's not giving aid to Iran. He's basically in a joint venture with them, and he's loaning them money against future profits, which is a secured loan. Okay? When it comes to money and economics, Trump is good. Let me tell you something. When it comes to sanctions and busting out the Iran's economy, Trump is 5 or 10 times more intelligent than Iran. Okay? And he's got much more resources to work with. So he's pulling Iraq and he's pulling the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar into a conglomeration opposing Iran with Syria. Okay? Wherever Saudi Arabia goes, UAE goes. All right? Iraq is still renegade, and they're not worried about it. Let's see if Kuwait does have a land border with this lunatic Iran. I believe they do, pretty sure, but I just want to double check it. Doesn't, let's see. These are not easy maps to work with. You try a different search and getting bad maps. I don't think it has a land border per se, but I'm double checking. I don't know what language that is. It's gonna. No, it appears that it's very close to Iran, but it actually has Iraq in between um, Kuwait and Iran by land, but it's very close to Iran across the Persian Gulf, where it's rather narrow. It's up sort of like the northeast end of it, or northwest end, I guess you might say. So they're probably rather nervous, and because Iran could stroll into Iraq freely whenever they want, with weapons, without weapons, So there, there's Iranian-backed militia in Iraq. So Kuwait is probably thrown in with Iran, hoping that if the war does go down, Iran doesn't shoot out their oil refineries. But the last I know, there was 5,000 American soldiers inside Kuwait. I never heard of them leaving, so we have to leave possibility that Kuwait is just keeping their mouth shut. And they're kicking in with Iran. This is highly likely too. Okay? He didn't go to Oman, and Oman is not really going with America, and I don't know, probably 65% with Iran, and maybe 35% trying to be friends with America, but not that seriously. That kind of a thing. All right. So Trump built a coalition against Iran. And this will go two ways. Because we know Elam, or Iran, gets destroyed by her enemies, plural. And Elam may include, depending on what historian or cartographer you listen to, can include parts of Iraq and Syria, so it can include them too. They get destroyed by her enemies, plural. So it could be these other countries. Jordan is pretty much in America's court. You don't have to worry about Jordan right now. Qatar and Saudi Arabia, well, are probably afraid to go into Abrahamic Accords with Israel openly because it would cause unrest in their country, but they're probably going to do something on a handshake basis. So if Kuwait went with Iran, then they would throw the American troops out, because then Iran would attack the American base in Kuwait. And, so it looks like Kuwait's just walking quietly. Kuwait is a real good-for-nothing country that stays quiet, but I tell you, they're really a bunch of good-for-nothings, okay? Just like all these other dictators of these Muslim oil countries, all these leaders are good for nothing. And Trump hangs out with them, of course. You people in America that are trusting in Trump are going to be, I would say, before the end of the summer, you're going to wish you never heard the name Trump, because of the Bible prophecies on Daughter of Babylon. Just wait for it. Just wait for it. The problem with what Trump is doing is he can't militarily do much about Iran, okay, other than decimate all the people. Then the regime will collapse, because the whole place collapsed. The revolution is probably not going to happen, okay? What will happen is Trump is squeezing Iran with the sanctions now. Now he's going to China and he's telling China, hey, we're putting sanctions on every Chinese company that's, having anything to do with Iranian oil. The China government says, we don't care. You can't go to China and expect our courts to allow you to strip, these companies of their assets to settle a debt, or they're laughing at him. So it's not going to work, and China's going to get mad. Where's China going to go for oil if they can't get it from Iran? Well, they got to go to somebody that's going to sell them the oil at a good price, and I don't know who that is. Russia maybe, but Russia probably lost 25% of their oil refineries already, and if they've got to feed themselves, and now they got to feed China, I don't know how well that'll work. A little spiritual warfare. So Trump's really not hurting Israel, okay? In behind the scenes, Israel's gonna kind of benefit. The UAE already has Abrahamic Accords with Israel. Qatar's afraid to do Abrahamic Accords, as is Saudi Arabia. They're not going to do it. Syria will, because he's desperate. So will America still turn on Israel? You bet. It's in the Bible. They shall do evil in your sight. They're going to do it, but this isn't as bad as it looked. It was a fraud against the Muslims to All right. So we're watching what happens today in the UAE and then what happens when Trump goes home. And it's going to end with the destruction of the infrastructure of Iran so that's not habitable. That's how it'll end. Iran, when they realize they're being broken, and Israel's going to keep attacking Iran, by the way. And these Qatar, UAE, Saudi, they're told that, and Netanyahu and Trump just put on a big charade. So it's just going to be a short period of time, and Iran's going to come out fighting now because they have no other choice, like Japan did in World War II. Now, the other side of the coin is now the Iranians are talking, well, in return for relief of sanctions, we might agree to a short-term treaty where we agree to not make any high-yield uranium for a short period of time. So what they're saying is, yeah, we'll give you our word as noble Iranian leaders not to do any high-yield uranium for a year or two, but take the sanctions away. What will happen? Trump will probably tell them what he's hearing from Congress and senators. They want the dismantling of the nuclear facilities. They could start impeachment garbage again against Trump if he doesn't do that. If Trump comes back to Congress and, they got to ratify the treaty. comes back to Congress and says, well, they said they're going to do it. Oh, really? No. Then they're going to just stop letting the nuclear inspectors in and stuff like that. We need it demolished. No nuclear facilities in existence. So that means it's going to take Iran many years to rebuild them. So don't think that there's a deal. Iran is scared. They know America can destroy their infrastructure. They know their stealth jets could take out their radar, and then they could just have a field day. Now, they also know America's going to take losses. They're going to lose aircraft. They're going to lose Navy ships. They're going to lose people. And they're going to have damage in the oil refineries in the Middle East and their bases. And Trump doesn't want any of that. So he's analyzed the situation and feels the only opportunity I got left here is to run against Iran economically and take them down. And Iran isn't that stupid. They're not going to sit still for it, and they'll break out in war. And that's when the coalition will attack them. Right now, the coalition would be America, the UK, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and I'm sure Jordan would join in, and Bahrain, and I don't know about Kuwait anymore. So, yeah. There we have it. Okay, so the war is still on with Iran. Israel will be attacking something in Iran after Trump leaves the Middle East, which is probably tonight or tomorrow. And then I think it's going to be showtime with Netanyahu. And I'm rather certain that's coordinated with Trump. Trump's using the Israel proxy like Iran uses the Houthis in Yemen. Oh, they're a free country. They decided to attack you and your warships to support Gaza. What do you want from us? We didn't do it. The Houthis did it. Deal with them. Trump to Iran. Well, we didn't attack you. Netanyahu did. Deal with him, but we support him. Be careful. See? The first thing Netanyahu got to do is start taking out the radar in Iran. And then from there, we'll see where it goes. Probably the other ports to make life more uncomfortable for them. Now, we did warn the Houthis about 3 additional ports. I thought it was 2. Now it's 3 that they have. And we put an evacuation order out to them. Well, we can't order their citizens. We told them to stay out of the port. It's going to be attacked, but we didn't tell them when. So they're not going to work. The ports are shut down. We didn't even drop a bomb. But probably preceding or at the same time or close in time proximity to the attack on Iran, we're going to go in and hit the Houthis again. It's the same Trump strategy. Bust out their economy. Will that cripple and destroy the country and cause an overthrow? Oh, yeah. But what they're not telling you is it's also going to be like Japan before, Pearl Harbor. They're going to be desperate. They know their ship is sinking and they got to do something about it. And the only something open to them is war. And that's what they're going to do. Now, who can the Houthis attack? Saudi Arabia, hands down. Could they damage Saudi Arabia's oil refineries? Yep, they've done it before, twice. Child's play for them. Could they get to the UAE and Jordan? We think so. Are they crazy? Yeah. The Iranian foreign minister said, it's better, you don't know what you're starting up with here. It's better for us to die as martyrs than to die at home in our bed. This is the sickness, the delusions that Satan's imputed upon these people. Okay? Japan had it. They would rather die for the honor of their ancestors and the prime minister who they felt was a deity. MacArthur came over there and made what was he? The prime minister? No, the royal family. They had whatever they called the goof. They had a royalty in Japan. That was a puppet of the warmongering regime. And he was thought to be a deity. People were not allowed to walk on his shadow. When people appeared before him in court, they were not allowed to leave by turning their back to him and walking out, which would be normal. King Louis XIV or any of those schmucks, if somebody was appearing in their court and he spoke to him, usually it was at a distance of several feet, and the guy was elevated on a throne chair up high, and the guy was... And when the guy was finished talking to him, he was excused. He said, "Let me take my leave, my lord," or something like that. And the king would go, "Yeah, go," And the guy would turn around and walk out. But when you appeared before the Japanese guy, you had to walk out backwards facing him for quite a distance before you were allowed to turn around. And generally, he wouldn't appear in the public because they felt he was a god. So MacArthur made him appear publicly and showed everybody he wasn't a god. So the problem with the Houthis is, you see, it's a sandwich that Trump's doing, okay? We're going to bust out the Iranian economy. Is Trump capable of doing that? Absolutely. Does he have the brains to do it? More than enough brains to do it. Is he doing it now? Yes. Is the plan in deep execution? Yes, yes, yes. The same with the Houthis, yes. Who's doing the dirty work? Israel. They blew the port up in Iran. They are blowing up the buildings and stuff like that, which is still ongoing, I understand. And they blew the port up in Yemen, along with electrical generators and stuff like that, and the airport. I understand Yemen got the airport running in a hybrid fashion. They paved the runways back, and they're starting to bring flights in either today or tomorrow, maybe yesterday even. So they probably found some military radar they could use or something. I don't know what they're doing. It's not going to be controlled like a normal civilian airport. It's going to be more like a wartime emergency military airstrip, And they're probably not going to have any takeoffs or landings at night. I don't know for sure. And Israel will go back and bomb it again for good measure. That's an easy thing to do. Because they're trying to close up Ben Gurion Airport by missile shots. So we close their airport. See, Trump plays hardball. Netanyahu plays hardball. Okay? So he's going to go there and he's going to finish off the other three ports where they used to sell some oil and other equipment and other, food or clothing, whatever, containers, the whole bit, right? Shut that down, shut the airport down. They can't get goods in and out. That's not good for a country. That's like a siege or a kind of blockade or a combination thereof, right? It's not an invasion. And that cuts the country down economically, and that's what they're going to do to Iran. They're not that worried about the airports because you can't put oil on a plane and fly it out. You'd probably have to get $180 a barrel because, how much oil can you put on a plane? And, the cost of the train, it's ridiculous. I don't know what the price would have. Probably have to go up, realistically, maybe $10 a barrel or $20 a barrel. But you can't move the volume easily. You'd have to take planes and modify them and put tanks in there. I mean, you got problem when you got a tank of liquid in a plane that big, because if something happens like turbulence, um, the plane drops or tilts or something like that, the stuff goes sloshing around in there. And it could cause the plane maybe to topple and start spinning and spiraling. And I've never heard of anybody, flying oil around. By now, they have refueling tankers that have a lot of liquid in there, but they're probably rather sophisticated with a lot of baffles. So you're not going to have that type of thing. So is it feasible to build something like that? Yeah, but it's mechanically feasible, but it's not economically feasible. I don't believe they'll do it. You need to move way too much. I mean, you look at a big oil tanker that's 600, 800, 900 feet long, and how high is it? Maybe 60 feet high, and 60, 80 feet wide. That's a lot of oil. Plane ain't gonna take that much oil, and how much fuel is the plane gonna take? And they're out of the oil business. They can't move it by sea. They're finished. Can they move it by truck? Yeah. To who? Kuwait, they got more oil than they know what to do with. They're selling it all the time. Iraq, they got oil. Who are they going to move? They're going to take a truck and go to China? Not going to do that. What's China going to do? Get 48,000 trucks and run constant convoys back and forth? Come on. It ain't going to work. Now, India isn't going to buy oil from Iran because the war with Pakistan, they came out and said there. Well, let me find my notes on this. This is very interesting because this also fits together with what they're doing to Iran. It's amazing. Somebody at the Pentagon put their thinking cap on. They're hitting Iran on all sides. I got to deal with this very briefly. It's my food delivery from the market. It's not a big thing. It'll take a few seconds. If I don't deal with it, they're going to call me on the phone, and that's going to take time. They're telling me what's not in stock. What is this stuff? I don't even know what it is. I can't even. They just give me a picture of it. They give me a washed out picture of what's not in stock, which doesn't help much, without describing it in words. And that's Israel. Well, now I got words. I don't know. Maybe there's no replacements. I'm going to take a break for a second. We're going to come back. I'm going to show you how they got India in the oil tied into it. Let me see if they freshen this up so I can deal with it. That's ridiculous. I don't know what they're trying to do. There's nothing to do. It's just telling me there's one item that's just not coming. I don't know. They don't have a replacement for it, so there's nothing really to do. Just a little container of plastics of smoked salmon. Salmon's real cheap here. Okay, so let's get into how India fits in with this Iranian oil, because that's rather fascinating unto itself. Now, because of the Pakistan uprising, India is stopping trade. Let me find out who is. Oh, before I forget, prayer requests for Idaho Mike, Idaho Mike, Serious prayer request here. Pray for pain. This person is getting surgery in the near future for a hip replacement, and pray that the surgery comes out very good, not just good, very good or excellent, that this person could walk and not have pain and there's no side effects like bad swelling or infection. So it's Idaho Mike, going to have a hip replacement, so pray for no pain, and it's a good surgery, an excellent surgery, and a good outcome without pain, side effects, infections, and stuff like that. Now, if somebody would like us to do an endless salad request for the owners, operators, and employees of X. Tossed salad request for owners, operators, employees for X. That's it. Okay, those are the prayer requests. Keep praying for me to get my sleep regulated. It worked yesterday that I get my sleep regulated so I can get on early and get everything done early. And okay. So with just Qatar and Saudi Arabia, Trump got $1.8 trillion in business, and when he finishes with the UAE, it'll be over that. It'll probably come up to 2.2 or 2.3 trillion or something like that. He's isolating Iran. Trump's big mistake is that North Korea, China, and Russia, and Venezuela, and Cuba, and the other one, Belarus, they all see what he's doing. And they know they got to stop him, or they might wind up being, state number 53, 54, 55 in America. I'm just making a joke, but they know Trump's trying to take over the world against their better interests. India is considering, and they probably will go through, cutting all trade with China and Turkey because they were helping Pakistan in this fight, which is not over. It won't be over unless India decides to turn the water back on to Pakistan. Then Pakistan will back off, and it's over. But if that doesn't happen, it's not over. Okay? The fighting just slowed down, and Pakistan's trying to reason with Modi to turn the water back on, and I don't think he will. So if Modi of India stops trade with China and Turkey, Turkey is not a focal point here. China is. Um, that's a problem, But where's Modi going to get his oil? Well, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, um, UAE, and America. Cutting off trade with China is something Trump is going to enjoy. He is. This is going to put China in the hot seat again. His tariff deal with China is only good for 90 days, and I doubt it'll ever last that long. So the rest of the economy based on oil in Yemen and other goods too, the economy in general in Yemen and Iran is about to bite the dust when Israel gets rid of the surviving ports in Iran and Yemen. Curious how the big ports in both countries were hit, right? Curious, huh? So then it's just a waiting game till they collapse. But now they're getting desperate. And there still are millions of sleeper agents in America, so read the writing on the wall. Trump's arming Ukraine again. Russia ain't happy. North Korea hates America. And China is very, very angry at America. See it coming together? Okay. So that's really what's going on. Trump is not going to avoid a war with Iran. Trump is going to not start a physical war with Iran. He's going to do an economic warfare on them. Now, notice there's a lot of cyber attacks all over the place. There's airports all over the place are getting, outages and stuff like that. And earthquakes are up. Significant earthquakes are up. I put them up on Telegram to some extent. I don't want to turn into an earthquake reporting services. They already exist. Okay, and fires are still popping up in America. All right, now let me go to the live stream and see if I have questions. I'm saying America is the daughter of Babylon, absolutely. Read Jeremiah 50 and 51 and Isaiah 47. By the way, there's probably 5 or 10 million people in the church world that believe that. The economy of Iran is predominantly based on oil. They do sell natural gas too, and they're a very big producer of pistachio nuts. But how much can you make on pistachio nuts? I understand, to give them credit, their pistachio nuts are fantastic. I don't recall ever having any, but I understand they're really good. Someone's telling me there's 12,000 American soldiers, I assume, in Kuwait as a staging ground. I thought it was 5,000. I never heard 12,000. You could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just never heard it. All I ever heard was 5,000. I don't know. If you say it and you got a good source, maybe give us the source. I don't think Trump's going to make it to the end of the summer. He'll make it to the summer, probably, maybe, but you know, Babylon's loaded with idols, American. Sunglasses, I spend a lot of time on screen, and these are polarized. They cut down a lot of the blue light up to 400, what do they call it, nanometers or something. And it makes it easy on my eyes. That's why I got old eyes. Okay, I think we're current in the live stream. All right, we're going to switch to Bible stuff now. I have a follow-up from yesterday. I got notes. So when I read Enoch to you yesterday, 1, it was talking about Jehovah and Yeshua coming down at the same time with 10,000 thousands of angels. Now that would have to be the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, because he's seated at the right hand of power, Father God Jehovah, because Psalm 110:1 says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. And when he comes down for the appearing, not to return to earth, he's still at the right hand because his enemies of his Father, because his enemies are not his footstool. So when you read of both of them coming down, and the 10,000s of angels in Enoch, it appears that at the appearing there's going to be a lot of angels too. And why? Well, that could be the day of vengeance, and they're going to destroy all the nations that Jehovah scattered the Israelites into over the many centuries. And I will read that to you. And I know the church doesn't teach it, but I don't know how they avoid it, but they don't teach it. But I do. And it's right there in Jeremiah 30, verse 11, which is dealing with the birth of the nation in a day, and we know what that is. Israel was not born in a day in 1948. That's a joke. The ungodly nations birthed Israel in a day. This is a fake Israel. It shouldn't even be called Israel. God refers to it as Judah and Jerusalem. Israel's not serving God now. Okay, Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. The word for save is yesha, to salvation you. Okay, that's redemption. That's what that does. Though I make a full end of all the heathen nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Now, is America a goyim nation? The word is goyim, which they translated into English. They made a word up that doesn't exist called Gentile, which is not a real word from the Bible. It's goyim. It means heathen, those without God. And since here he says he scattered us into the goyim, you can't scatter an Israelite into a person. It's their nations, their land. And that's all going to be destroyed. Now, For this to work, let's use Bible logic, unlike what the church jackasses do. For this to come to pass, it has to be when the scattering of the Israelites into the nations is over. Because if he destroyed them before it was over, then they were scattered into other countries. Well, the other countries wouldn't be destroyed at this time. So you see, to make this work with Bible logic, the scattering or the diaspora or the captivity has to be ended. And that happens at the end of the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, the day of redemption, after Yeshua appears in the clouds, Matthew 24:30, Revelation 1:7. Okay? And that is the last point in time that this happens. Now, they all don't have to go in the same day, and the daughter of Babylon looks like it has its own little episode. Because the nations that destroy the daughter of Babylon would not yet be destroyed, or they couldn't destroy the daughter of Babylon if they were already gone, right? This is Bible logic. Never seen or heard in the churches, but this is Bible logic, okay? So it has to be before the day of vengeance, before the end. So America's going to go early on. So you're at the days of the end of America. But it's not going to be that much earlier because when they get out, they got to come to Israel. Okay? So when you read of the coming of Yeshua and Jehovah at the same time, and it's associated with the 10,000 angels, assuming Enoch is right, which there's a lot of evidence to think it's a good book, so there's going to be a lot of angels with him. Now, when Yeshua returns to earth, not the appearing with New Jerusalem and all of that, he comes on a white horse. Father God Jehovah is not accompanying him. His garments are stained red, double-edged sword out of his mouth, which is allegorical, and he comes with the massive amount of angels. But he doesn't come seated at the right hand of power, okay, like he does with the appearing. The appearing is when the moon turns to blood and the stars don't give their light. The return to earth is when the moon goes dark, the sun goes dark, and the stars don't give their light and fall from heaven. The space in between is Daniel 9:24, the second 70. Now, I tell people this all the time, and they hate hearing it because the church looks like it has dung on its face for not teaching this right, because they do have dung on their face for not teaching it. The words in every single Hebrew manuscript going back to 900 AD, which is the oldest one we have, says Shavim Shavim in Daniel 9:24. Shavim is the word for 70. It has the word 70 and then 70 again, repeated right next to each other. The English translation says 70 weeks. Now, you can't have the same exact word mean 70 and then a quarter of an inch later mean weeks. That's lying. That's intentional lying to build up Darby and Schofield. Okay? So there's the first 70, which could be the 70-year Babylonian captivity, or more likely from the time of Yeshua's birth till the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple in 70 AD by the Romans was. So it appears that that's the second 70 is a testing period for Israel when Yeshua was born and died, and then he gave him about 40 years before he wiped out Jerusalem and the temple. And we still never had another temple, but we'll deal with the other temples shortly. Okay? All right, let me get back on my notes. Some of the nations may be destroyed by war, so you can't live in them, which would be Elam, which is basically Iran, but it could include Iraq and Syria. And then you have Yemen, which is Edom, and it looks like Moab, which is central and southern Jordan, will be destroyed also by people, and so will Gaza, and so will Lebanon. And Turkey's on the list because it's in Psalm 83, which is likely Zechariah 12 countries, and the Hittites are in there, which is Turkey. And we know Elam, Iran gets it. So when they get it by the armies in the war, it would be, with Bible logic, unlikely to be the day of vengeance, because man doesn't really have the ability to destroy so many countries all at the same time in one day. Jehovah will do it, like Sodom and Gomorrah, probably with fire and brimstone or fire. And that's how America gets it. But I believe America gets it before the day of vengeance. Otherwise, those nations, it wouldn't work otherwise. The nations loot and pillage her, and then the believers, the true believers and the Israelites leave. It's going to happen before. So will Yemen and Iran and very possibly Jordan, but maybe Jordan happens after redemption. Some of these countries could go after redemption. But you see, the Israelites were scattered into Jordan, so if they got destroyed in the day of vengeance, they wouldn't be destroyed by armies, most likely. So it's a very complicated thing to work through, and it is solid meat. Okay? And when you read Amos 9, it tells you that the Lord scattered the Israelites into every country. At that time, anyway. So maybe there are some excluded countries. But you have to be deranged, to deny Jeremiah 30:11. And if you're in the business of denying Jeremiah 30:11 and thinking it happened in the past, it didn't. It never did. But it also pops up in a second place, Jeremiah 46, verse 28. Oh, but Moshe, they're both in Jeremiah. Oh, okay, so we'll throw Jeremiah out the window, right? Come on. Fear thou, verse 28, Jeremiah 46, verse 28. Fear thou not, O Yaakov, my servant, that's pertaining to Israel, saith Jehovah, for I am with thee. For I will make a full end of all the heathen nations, the Goyim, whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee altogether unpunished. You see, Satan is the god of this age. The age ends with redemption, with the appearing of the sign of Son of Man in the clouds, and we get changed to everlasting life. Read John 6, verse 40 with Zechariah 12:10. Zechariah 12:10 is the next war on Israel, not Gog and Magog. So when Gog and Magog happens, Israel's living at peace, without bars and walls, with great riches, cattle, gold, and silver. Come on, we're living in peace. Are you nuts? We all got bomb shelters. Wake up. All right. So let me check my notes, and then we'll go to the temple. When you ask the churches for an explanation for these scriptures, they're likely to say the year of redemption and the year of recompenses and the day of vengeance is Gog and Magog war. That's the likely explanation these jackasses will come up with. But they couldn't substantiate it. I just counter-argued it with Ezekiel 37 and 38, or what is it, 38 and 39 rather. You got to read also the book of Joel. That's all about Gog and Magog, and please note there's a temple there, okay? And you got to read Zechariah 14, and you got to read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, and please note there's a temple there too, and the glory of God of Israel is in the temple. The church doesn't even know nor teach what the glory of God of Israel is. It's the angel that was with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness, and in Exodus 23, verse 20, it's God says he put his name Jehovah in this angel. And that's, of course, the greatest angel, Michael, the most powerful angel. And he's going to be in the temple. He anointed the temple with Solomon, but he didn't stay there. He never anointed or went in Zerubbabel's temple, which was temple number 2, Solomon's was 1, nor Herod's temple, which was number 3. So there's already been 3 temples. Again, Solomon's, Zerubbabel's, and Herod's. Herod's temple was legitimate. Yeshua drove him out, whipping him with a rope, and told him, my father's house shall be a house of prayer. You made it into a house of merchandise. So why do these jackass morons with the denominations and the buildings teach you the next temple is the 3rd temple when there's already been 3 temples and the next one is clearly number 4? Because they're making a joke out of you. And their father is the father of lies, and they love lying. That's the church of the Antichrist. Many churches, many Antichrists. Okay, let's talk about the next great Exodus. I should have put that in the topic, but we'll do it now. We go to Ezekiel 20, verse 33. It starts in verse 33. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered. Now, he's not going to destroy the nations before he brings the Israelites and the true believers out. True believers are in Israel. There's no way you could be a true believer in Yeshua and not be in Israel. He calls you his brethren, and he's from Judah. So get off of that church lies about that the church stands with Israel. All Israel shall be saved. It doesn't say that all churches will be saved or any of them will be saved. To the contrary, actually, in Galatians 5, verses 19 to 21, those that do seditions, which is a denomination, a division, or variance, which is different doctrinal statements, are not going to enter the kingdom of God. It's right there in your Bible, Galatians 5, verses 19 to 21. 2 Corinthians 11:4 says they have another Jesus, another gospel, and receive another spirit, which is an unclean spirit. How about that? Okay, I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered with a mighty hand, a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. So the nations aren't going to fare very well. Now, the nations might be destroyed right about the same time, give or take, before or after when the Exodus is going to happen. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. And that's going to be like the days with Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Now, which wilderness this is, we don't know. And the word for wilderness is, it's not opening, hold on. Medaber. I don't think this gives us much clues. It's a wilderness, implication, a desert wilderness. Okay, Ezekiel 20, verse 36. Like as I pleaded with you, with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith Adonai Yehovah. And I will cause you to pass under the rod. The shepherd uses the rod when he's at the sheep gate. The sheep gate is Israel. And when the sheep are coming in, he has a rod and he holds it and they come in one by one and he looks at them to make sure that his sheep, goats aren't getting in, or jackals or wolves or coyotes or dogs or something else, right? And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. Okay? And I will purge out from among you the rebels. Let's check that word. Marad. Rebel is all right. Rebel against God and his law and everything. And them that are transgressors, that would mean breaking the law, against me, although the word is just says transgressors, against me is added into the text. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah, Ani Jehovah. So, for his name's sake, he takes them out of the lands they're in to fulfill the next great Exodus. But because they're going to mess up in the wilderness like the people did with Moses and Aaron, they're basically going to take a dirt nap in the wilderness and not make it into Israel. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, go you, serve you every one his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols. For in my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, saith Jehovah, saith Adonai Jehovah, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, those that actually make it to the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and your first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things. Require first fruits, offerings, and oblations. Oh gosh. I guess Matthew 5:17 and 18 was right, and the jackasses in the denominations were wrong. Matthew 5:17, think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets, I came to fulfill. Next verse, it's 18, they never read. For as long as there is a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall be done away with from the law. And there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblation with all your things. Well, the first fruits, the oblations, and the offerings are not in the Ten Commandments, are they? They're in the law. So if you want to go to a church that's an antichrist, they're going to teach against the teachings of Jehovah and Yeshua, like here. It's a perfect example. So what do you think happens to you if you go to the church of the Antichrist? I didn't say the beast, I said the Antichrist. Beast is not yet. There shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. Well, Jeremiah 31, around verse 31, they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. They're not going to go around saying, know the Lord. They shall all know me from the least to the greatest. I will put my law, my Torah, in their heart, in their inner part. They'll have an heart of flesh, not of stone. This is what happens when Yeshua appears and they have everlasting life. They get changed. 1 John 3:2. John 6:40, Zechariah 12:10 shows you it happening, and read it with Revelation 1:7. Look them up. Now, where does God accept the people? In Israel. What does it say? For in my holy mountain, now when we get the next temple, the mountain's going to be there with it. It's called Mount Zion. It's been taken down by enemy armies many, many centuries ago, but it'll come back supernaturally. That's probably going to be the end of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, by the way, but maybe not. In my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, so that would be the highest mountain in Israel. The mountains aren't very high here. We don't have any Kilimanjaro or anything like that, Mount Whitney, and we don't have any big ones here. Saith Adonai Jehovah. For in my holy mountain, in the mount of the height of Israel, saith the Lord God, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them. What's the word for accept? 75:21. Be pleasured with, ratzah. Accept isn't the best choice of words. What does Strong's use? Satisfying a debt. Oh, like in the law. Accept, accomplish, set affection, approve. That's a good one. Or delight. Approve of delight. Have favor. Okay, accept in the land. So, can you give me scriptures if it says in the land of Israel he accepts you? How can we substantiate pastors around the world and teachers and all these characters if they're not in Israel where God accepts them? They're not accepted of God. The opposite is true. I can explain it to you, but probably 90% of you will reject it. But when you reject the next scriptures I'm reading, along with these scriptures, you're not rejecting me. You're rejecting the Word of God. And Yeshua is the Word made flesh. And Yeshua said, if you reject knowledge, I will reject you. And that's about what you're going to do. And you've probably already done it when I read this. It's all about Israel, but if you're a believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel, and all Israel shall be saved. If you want to be in the church, welcome to the lake of fire, because that's the church of the Antichrist. Now, I just showed you in Israel, he accepts you. I happen to be in Israel. I happen to be a Levite and a descendant of Aaron, which makes me a priest or a Cohen. Now, you're hearing stuff from me you don't hear elsewhere. Why? Well, I'll give you the scriptures, and like I say, I don't know, 80-90% of you are going to reject it. Malachi 2, verse 1. And now, O you Kohanim, or priests, those are the descendants of Aaron, they're also Levites. Not all Levites are descendants of Aaron, but all descendants of Aaron are Levites. Okay? And now, O you priests, this commandment is for you. Oh, a commandment? Okay, what's the word for that? Mitzvah. Oh, that's like following the commandments, like the 10 Commandments, 10 mitzvah, or the law with the mitzvah. Mitzvot is the plural. If you will not hear, and if you will not lay it to heart to give glory unto my name, saith Jehovah of hosts, Jehovah of hosts, I will even send a curse upon you, and I will curse your blessings. Yea, I have cursed them already, because you do not lay it to heart. The rabbis teach the people you're not allowed to pronounce his name, Jehovah. Instead, they call him Hashem, which means the name. Well, they can mean Satan, it can mean the beast, it can mean Trump, it can mean anything. But they were afraid to pronounce his name. You got it? Okay, good fit, right? Verse 3, behold, I will corrupt your seed, well, they are corrupted, and spread dung upon your faces, even the dung of your solemn feasts, and one shall take you away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this commandment, mitzvot, unto you, that my covenant, now that word is brit, it's a covenant, like New Testament is Brit Chadashah, new covenant, might be with Levi, saith Jehovah of hosts. So he has a covenant with the Levites. Boy, they never taught you that in the church because they ain't Levites. Oh, Church of the Antichrist, I'm telling you, those churches, all of them, all 2 billion people that go to them, don't line up with the Word of God. Take your choice. Heaven for eternity or the lake of fire with the Antichrist pastors is up to you. My covenant was with him of life and peace. That's a covenant, the brit, with the Levites. The word for peace is shalom. And I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me, and was afraid before my name. Well, they don't even pronounce his name now. They've got it blotted out. The law of truth. Oh, the law. What word would that be? The Torah of emet, truth. Oh. Was in his mouth. And lawlessness was not found in his lips. He walked with me, with God, in peace and shalom and equity, and did turn many away from lawlessness. That's the best place to find lawlessness is in the churches of the Antichrist. For the Kohanim, the descendant of Aaron's lips, should keep knowledge, and they should seek the Torah at his mouth, for he is the Malach, the messenger of Jehovah of hosts. So I happen to be a Kohen, and I happen to be in Israel, and I happen to be full of the Holy Spirit, and I pray in tongues. The priest, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge. Now, Yeshua said, if you reject knowledge, I will reject you. And I'm spewing forth the knowledge that the Church of the Antichrist people are going to reject. What a coincidence! And they should seek the law at his mouth. Well, they hate the Jews, these church people. They think they're jerks and idiots, and they don't want to sit under of course you guys accept it. They don't want to sit under a Jew, let alone a Levite, let alone a Kohanim, let alone one in Israel. They want a guy in Dallas or Oklahoma City or Seoul, Korea or something like that, with a big building, you know, and a staff, and, you know, all of this, right? They shall seek the law at the mouth of the Kohanim. Well, these people don't want the law. They're not seeking it at the mouth of the Kohanim or anybody else. They want to have another Jesus that changed the Sabbath to Sunday and has Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's go out and get a Christmas tree and sprinkle it with gold and silver and wipe our feet on Jeremiah 10 that tells us specifically not to do this. For he is the Malach, the messenger of Jehovah of hosts. Oh, where did we ever read that word Malach? Gee, let's go to Malachi 3:1. Behold, I will send my Malach, my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. That's the glory God of Israel. The Malach is Elijah, as you see. Even the Malach of the covenant, now we're back to Elijah, whom you delight in. The Jews all celebrate the coming of Elijah because it says they believe he will teach them Torah, and he will. But he's going to start with who the Messiah is, you bet. Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of hosts. You should read that. He shall come, like, let my people go. That was a movie done by the president of the NRA, Charlton Heston. Got to have my humor, right? Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of armies or hosts. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi. Oh, the Levites that the people will seek the Lord at the mouth of. Oh, how convenient all this fits together. And purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. Gee, we're back to the offerings again. Well, I guess the Bible's wrong. The church knows better, you know. No, I don't think so. I think the church of the Antichrist is a conglomerated abomination. Then shall the offerings of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Jehovah, as in the days of old, as in the former years. And I will come near to you to judge, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers. That's all the witches, you could say. And the adulterers, we know that one. And the false swearers, those that go to court and rip off people by lying in court, taking oaths, stuff like that, you know. False swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. For I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers you are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of hosts. But you said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Oh, I guess the Lord's not dead. Offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into the storehouse, that I might have meat in my house, and prove me now whether, saith the Lord, now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. People don't believe that. They don't give offerings. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. That's not the devil. That's the palmer worms, cankerworms, locusts, that kind of stuff. He shall not destroy the fruit of your ground, neither shall your wine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith Jehovah of hosts. And all heathen nations shall call, or all heathen, shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, saith Jehovah of hosts. Your words have been stout against me, saith Jehovah, yet you say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have said, it is vain to serve God, and what profit is it that we have kept his ordinance, and that we have walked mournfully before Jehovah of hosts. And now we call the proud happy, yea, they that work wickedness are set up, like the pastors in the churches of the Antichrist. They that tempt God are even deceived. Then they that feared Jehovah spake one to another, and the Lord hearkened. Do you speak one to another? Sure you do. And heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Jehovah. That's the book of life. And that thought upon his name. That's you all. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Well, you got to think about the parable of the two sons. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth me not. Now, remember, the next chapter, Malachi was one continuum in a scroll. It's a safer, The publishing houses put this stuff together, and they assign chapters and verses to it. Okay? So we're going to read Malachi 4, which is a continuation. It's all one book. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. Now, you should be thinking of Zechariah 12:6, where the two witnesses burn up all the enemies round about. And remember Sodom and Gomorrah? Remember the guys there in Sodom and Gomorrah? You think they might have been Enoch and Elijah, the two witnesses, and they called fire down from heaven, fire and brimstone? Maybe the two witnesses do that. Maybe it comes out of their mouth. Maybe they call it down. Maybe the fire that comes out of their mouth in Hebrew can be the same word for lightning. Now, if you get hit with lightning, better believe you're going to burn up. Fire will burn you up, and lightning will burn you up too. And so will fire and brimstone from heaven. So I don't know exactly which one it'll be. Not that it makes a huge difference. We'll find out soon enough. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Now, we read that very quickly. We're going to read Zechariah 12, verse 6, and you'll see the similarities. In that day will I make the judges, they say governors, it should be judges, the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, like a torch of fire in a sheaf. They shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall remain still inhabited in her own place. They got the translation screwed up over there about Jerusalem for Schofield and Darby purposes. Okay, back to 4, Malachi 4. So that the wickedly shall become stubble. Well, it sounds like it is, Zechariah 12:6. How would it not be? I don't know. More to come on that. She leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son, that word is Shemesh, it's S-U-N, not S-O-N, of righteousness, arise. Well, he appears in the clouds, right? What's the word for arise? Sarah, not Rach, Ra. Come forth, break out. Appears in the clouds, break out, right? Okay. Fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. It's not wings, it's kanaf in Hebrew, it's extremities. The tzitzit, or the tassels on the garment, were placed on all the outer borders of the garments, not with the 4 the rabbis put on today. That's not it. So Yeshua's garment would have had that. He was an observant Jew. And the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years grabbed this tassel, and she got healed. And Yeshua said, power went out from among me. Who did it? The woman got scared, and he says, no, it's great, it's okay, I'm glad you got healed. He didn't use those exact words, but he certainly wasn't chastising her at all. Something went astray here. Oh, wait a second. I got something fell. Okay. So the Son of Righteousness rise with healing, and the word for healing is marpe, health, and that takes us to Hosea 6:1 and 2, redemption and so forth. Arise from healing in his wings, and you shall frolic. It doesn't say go forth. Frolic about like a calf coming out of the stall. You'll be young again. A child shall die 100. My people's days shall be like that of a tree. Even children run and get tired, but you will run and not get tired. That's in the scriptures. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith Jehovah. The day. That's the day of vengeance. And because they're ashes under our feet, and we're in Israel, it's not the people surrounding us in the siege. They get burned up too. These are your rabbis, these are your Messianic congregation leaders, these are your government, these are your witches, these are your Satan bots, these are the evil people that aren't Satan bots. Okay? They get burned up. Remember the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. That's the same law they told you is dead and done away with. And that's why they tell you you're in the church, not Israel, because they don't want you to read this and say, holy Gazoli, I'm in Israel and I got to follow the law. Oh, okay. Behold, I will send you Eliyahu, it's Elijah, the prophet. So you would say Eliyahu HaNavi. Elijah is the Navi, is prophet. Enoch HaNavi. Enoch the prophet. The 2 prophets, Shtaim Nevim. All right, moving on. Send you Eliyahu the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Now, did he say he's going to send Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, or did he say before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord? Well, the word for coming is 935. It means bow. So if I was going to call Beulah the dog in Hebrew, and I was telling her, what's wrong? Oh, tell her to come to me, I would say boila po. And it would literally mean come to this place. not me, to this place. But Hebrew and English don't. Hebrew doesn't go into English very well. So bo or boy means to come. So they said coming. So Eliah HaNavi, and then it has the word before, and that word is not well translated. It's panim, it means face. Eliah HaNavi, punim, bo, great is gadol, dreadful, Yom Yehovah. That's Gog and Magog. So Elijah is going to be here not just before the great and dreadful day of the Lord, but before the coming of it, before the great falling away. So you're going to see Elijah emerge openly with Enoch any day. Yeah. Doubt me now, but just remember what I said. So when it happens, you'll remember I said it, and then you maybe listen to the other scriptures you're probably breaking that you shouldn't be breaking, and then maybe you'll repent and get saved and be up in heaven for eternity. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers, this is Eliah, to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Whom the heaven must receive until the restoration of all things. Here it is, Elijah. Now, let's go to Zechariah 13, which is a continuation of Zechariah 12, verse 8 and 9, and see how Elijah fits in over here, along with Enoch, the two witnesses. Zechariah 13, 8 and 9. And it shall come to pass in all the land, that's called Haaretz, land of Israel, saith Jehovah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. That's dead. 2 parts is 2/3. But the third shall be left therein. That's the 2/3 getting cut off. That's going to be in the coming days and weeks. And I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, instead of saying Hashem, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yehovah Elohim. That's Elijah. Training the Levites. There's only really 2 tribes in Israel, Levite and Judah. And within Judah is the line of David, which is not a tribe, it's a lineage from his father Jesse, okay, which Yeshua is derived from. So there's a lot of Levites here in Israel. But 2/3 of Israel isn't going to be that much. So after you go on the next great Exodus and go to the wilderness, there should be a lot of empty houses. Am I cynical? I've been prepared for this day. You can call me cynical. Let's see, where was I? Ezekiel 20. And I will purge out from you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country wherein they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah. Because he takes us out for his name's sake, not because our works were that good. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, go you serve. Oh, I finished this already, didn't I? Wait a minute. I remember we read that. Let's go to verse 41. And I will accept you with sweet Savior when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein you have been scattered, and I will be sanctified in you before the heathen. So he might actually accept them when they're entering the bond of the covenant in the wilderness, but I think it really means Israel. And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up my hand to give it to your fathers. And there shall you remember your ways and all your doings wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your evils that you have committed. When they see Yeshua and they get changed with everlasting life, he's going to put the law in their heart, and then when they have the law in their heart, they're going to realize what they did wrong, right? And you shall know that Ani Jehovah, I'm Jehovah, when I have brought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, saith Adonai Jehovah. Moreover, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face towards the south, and drop thy word towards the south, and prophesy against the forest of the south. That's the Negev, I guess, where Gaza area, not Gaza, but the Israel next to Gaza. And say to the forest of the south, hear the word of Jehovah, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee, it shall devour every green tree in thee, and every dry tree. The flaming flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south to the north shall be burned therein. He could be talking about Yemen, because Yemen has a word that means the south in Hebrew. Yemen is Edom. See, he uses the word here, south, which is Negev, which is the desert, but there's another word for the south. See, he doesn't say this is Israel. Then said Lord. Then said I, Lord, Adonai Jehovah. They say of me, doth he not speak in parables? Okay. So that gives you some idea of the second Exodus. It appears in Jeremiah 16 or 17 and Jeremiah 23 also, but it's getting rather advanced into this live stream, so I'm going to touch on the temple with you and before I run out of gas. My gas tank's on low, but not empty. All right, let's see what's in the live stream. Pray for the two witnesses to start working openly soon. That's a good prayer. Yeah, someone wrote correctly. It said the dude Cab says them verses in Jeremiah, that's Jeremiah, not referring to Christmas. No, I was specifically referring to Christmas. No. The birth of a nation in a day wasn't the United Nations voting them in. No, it's their redemption. That's what that is. They were not redeemed back then. There's already been 3 temples. The liars in the churches tell you the next one's the 3rd. I'll read them to you. They're all in your Bible. Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple. Read Zechariah 4, for instance. And Herod's temple all over the New Testament. The next temple is Temple 4. If you want to sit under some jackass Antichrist that tells you lies like this, it's up to you. Where is Jeremiah 10? I'll get you the verse. I'll read it. I brought it up. I'll read it. Why not? Jeremiah 10. It's a short chapter, but what verse is it? Let's go to 12 and see if we get it. It's not 12. Where is it? For it starts in verse 3. For the custom of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Okay, so what do they do with the Christmas tree? They put the tinsel, the silver and the gold all over it, right? And then at the bottom, they build the base place like this with nails to keep the tree standing up. Sometimes a bucket of water as well. And then they even have singing Christmas trees to mock God even further. These pastors in these churches, it would be better for them if they were never born. But it remains to be watched. Okay, let's cover the next temple. It's not hard to understand that this next temple comes down from heaven, and it is not New Jerusalem. Because New Jerusalem has no temple. It's said in, I believe, Revelation 21 or maybe 22, but there is no temple in New Jerusalem. So we are in Ezekiel 27, verse 26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of shalom, of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant. So you should start thinking that means everlasting life, to have an everlasting covenant with these people. It could mean something else, but it does bring me to everlasting life, redemption with them. And I will place them, that means he's going to put us in the land, and multiply them. That means we're going to have a lot of children. And it then says, set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. The same word for set is 6 or 7 words earlier translated as place. So they're obviously trying to confuse you. The word in Hebrew is natan. It's the same word. So instead of saying set, let's read it as, and multiply them, and will place my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Now, the word for sanctuary is mikdash. It's a temple. God's going to place it in the midst. Jerusalem is the midst or the middle of Jerusalem forevermore. It's not going away. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Well, that takes us to 2 Maccabees 2, chapter 2, where Jeremiah hid the tabernacle in Mount Nebo, the mountain Moses died on, and sealed up the cave. And it had the Ark of the Covenant with it, and it had the altar of incense and the tabernacle. Maybe other things we don't know, they weren't listed. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Possibly the tabernacle goes into the wilderness with the people when they enter into the bond of the covenant. Maybe. I don't know. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, Jehovah, do sanctify, and the word sanctify is kadosh, means holy, not sanctify. It's not a great translation, holy. Kadosh kadashim means holiest of holies. Kadashim is the plural, kadosh is singular. So the word is kadosh. It's Strong's number 6942. It really means holy. So Jehovah do sanctify or make holy Israel when my temple, Mikdash, shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So when they see the temple, they know he made Israel holy. Well, obviously this temple comes down from heaven. Or how would it have that effect on the people? It's going to look like it comes down from heaven. And then in Malachi 3, we see Elijah training the Levites so the offerings will be acceptable unto the Lord. And that brings the blessings of the law on Israel. And then the destruction of the enemies by having them burned up. That's how I'm looking at it. There was a lot today. There's still more we can talk about with the temple, but I think I'm running out of gas. You could read Ezekiel chapter 43 to 45, and it's going to show you the glory of God of Israel going into the said temple. And you're going to be interesting. You could read that. And then you're also going to read in 45 of Ezekiel the anointed prince. That's the one that gets killed in Daniel 9:26 or 27. And he's from the line of David. He is not Yeshua. Yeshua is the king of Israel, not an anointed prince. He's the Messiah. He's the high priest in the order of Melchizedek. He's the firstborn son of God. He's many things. The anointed prince is another individual. And I think that is where I should stop, or I'll start running out of gas. And when I run out of gas, that's when you make mistakes in the scripture. Let's see what's cooking in the live stream. Yes, thank you for all the mods. For me, it's unbelievable. All right. We covered the prayer request. So please remember to pray for me that I get my sleep routine really good so I can keep doing these early. Um, Pray for me and my wife. Pray she figures out a way to get home soon. These delays with the canceling the flights is getting her worn out and me worn out, and it's getting burdensome already, and it's unpleasant. But please pray that me and my wife be happy, healthy, and whole, and we pray for our finances, pray for her to be able to get back here shortly. She has a plan, take some other airlines into like Europe or Africa or something like that, and then find a flight from El Al, who will be flying, and then come here. She could do Europe, she could, I don't know. I think you'd be an idiot to fly to Jordan and do it out of Jordan. And Jordan doesn't have LL flights. I wouldn't do that. There's a lot of countries in Europe you can go to, starting with France, and you can work your way all the way across to Italy. You can go to Romania, you can go to Poland, you can go to Italy, you can go to France, you could go to Germany. There's a lot of places that El Al will fly to Israel from, and that's not a great expense. From Rome to Israel is 2.5 hours. From Romania is maybe the same distance, the same time, something like that. Poland, not much difference. France is a little longer, which depends if you go from De Gaulle or Orly. 3.5, 3 hours, 15 minutes, something like that. So there's a lot of options. And then I think there's places in Africa she could try also. So we're going to futz around with that, see what happens. They'll probably refund her if she doesn't want to book again. They'll give her the money back that she paid. She had a round trip, so they'll give her half back probably. So she can get a one-way to Israel because she's a citizen. If you're a tourist, they want a round trip. They want to make sure you got enough money to get out of here so they don't have to send you home. But if you're a citizen, then they don't care. You can buy a one-way. So pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues. Gosh, I'm putting Beulah on the cable so she doesn't Houdini on me. And I got up this morning, I had to unravel the cable because she couldn't, I had to unhook her from it yesterday at night in the dark. I didn't see. She had it wrapped around one of these little tree things. My wife's going, must be 7, 8 times. I was bending down there, unraveling it for minutes. I was there a long time. I couldn't believe what she did. I don't know how she did it. I don't know. Well, that's dogs, they don't have a good sense of geometry, And pray for better videos with more insights about prophecy and stuff. I'm going to keep doing these prophecy reviews for a while. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and that's what I got. Thanks. Offering information's in the bottom of the description box. So's my email address, israelgiving7@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. I'm out.